19 and also Kongdu Monster, they have left the competition. The rest of the teams are scrapping it out for the lion's share of 150.
Ascends 8th, 10th, 9th. I mean, they send the bottom of the table, and they are whooping us. They are whooping us. G2 barely able to take the series against Kongdu. Was clean in the end, but it's been rough.
Look, I have faith. I do have faith. I think G2, when they're settled, they'll be steamrolling again. I've got no worries. So, not only with the prize pool, but this is such a prestigious tournament as well. I mean, this has got the likes of KT Rolster. It's got SKT on the trophy. It's got, you know, M5 on the trophy. There is a massive legacy behind the Intel Extreme Masters trophy, and the teams are playing for that as well. Now, we've got to move on, because we've looked at the groups. You know, we got here, we had huge rivalries clashing out. We finally ended up with our 3 European teams still in the draw. We've got to look at our first matchup of the day. It's going to be H2K versus HKE, Hong Kong Esports. What are we expecting from this? Where do we even start?
I think it's safe to say that for European fans and for the hopefuls out there, that there should be a pretty one-sided affair. H2K look like the stronger team overall. They've already taken a game off HKE. But honestly, at this point, I don't know if we're quite as confident as we once were. We've dropped far too many games.
I mean, if I specifically, what are the expectations for H2K? I mean, they came in as the 3rd best European team, and Crumbs, you had a bit of a talk about what they are playing like. Their style doesn't seem quite focused yet.
Right. Well, we expected a team to be on the uprise. They kept saying that these days they've been improving constantly, and it really kind of fell apart in the group stages. We didn't really get too hyped behind what they were saying, but honestly, they do have the time to reassess what went wrong. The lack of communication was really apparent in a lot of the plays that they were making. A lot of compositions that involved cross-map just never really seemed to fit in, but with these couple of days and being an emotional team, the fact that they can have some time to regain that confidence, and they know that their opponent is somebody that they've beat before, should be enough for them to have a walk in the park for this one.
And after this, we've got the big European clash, the second game of the day. That's going to be G2 versus Unicorns of Love, a rematch of the LCS game that we saw just recently. I've got to go to you, Dracos. I mean, this is one that hits me heavy in the heart, because I don't want to say goodbye to either of these teams.
I mean, we have to let one go. I think the safe bet is G2, but honestly, Unicorns of Love continue to impress me in the proactive way that they play the game. So I honestly think that if G2 do not find a lead early, that we may have a Unicorns victory.
Oh. G2 and Unicorns are all-time 11-1 in favor of G2.
I understand. All right. I'm just saying.
But we're in a different setting, right? This is G2 internationally, and they might be playing another European team, but it's an international tournament.
I mean, the thing that stood out for me that I like about Unicorns, that I liked from a lot of teams in the tournament, is that when they get behind, they make proactive plays to come out. And they're risky, and sometimes you can call them greedy, but they're making moves. They're not just bleeding out. They're not slowly losing the game. And we haven't always seen that from G2, and so that's my big concern for them.
Sure. So that's going to be the big one later on. And I know a lot of people are really looking forward to that match, but we do have another European team that we have to, you know, sort of look at now. We've got that HKE versus H2K matchup, and I'll be honest, I think a lot of people have underestimated in some ways what HKE can actually bring to the table.
To be fair, they played against M19, which was by far the worst team in the tournament right now. They really showed no signs of cohesion, and it was good that they were able to dismantle them 2-0 quite easily, but when they face H2K, a kind of all over the place H2K was still able to walk away with a victory. So I think that if you take into account that both these teams can rise their level of play, H2K simply just seems another tier above Hong Kong's right now.
I completely agree. That said, I think right now, so far, Hong Kong Esports meeting expectations, taking down M19. But honestly, if they can even get a game in this series, I think that looks really good for them. Coming in as a 4th place or lower LMS team, you should not expect to be going toe-to-toe with Europe, but maybe we could have said the same thing about Korean teams.
So I think one of the main things that we should look at with H2K is, you know, you've got Jankos here in a home crowd. Forbidden has had some excellent performances. Is it a case of just getting these individual excellent performances and somehow tying it into a cohesive unit?
I mean, Jankos went a third of his team's death in the games that they played before, and the standout really has been Forbidden. But the issue has been that these deaths and blunders are just coming from a result of lack of direction in the plays that they make. It's all over the place. When they can go for something in one side of the map, they do it right, but they fail to execute over and over. That game against, it was, I think, Hong Kong, where they played the Shen, that just seemed so hopeful at first, making so many aggressive moves from the beginning, but then all of a sudden collapsing, is indicative of a team that just seems to kind of lose focus past the laning phase, which is when all 5 voices really come into fruition. So I really want to see this team shy away from that, and they have done so in their matches against Rock, so I think that they'll come out ahead a little bit more level-headed.
And I agree completely that the Hong Kong esports early game was clean. It was immaculate. The beautiful Shen dives, rinse and repeated to get that massive lead. But coming into that matchup against Rocks, I gotta say, it's not that the draft is questionable, it's that I don't see the priority on Rengar for Jankos. It doesn't feel like his champion, and I'm worried that if that comes in again today, that we'll see the same shaky H2K we saw before.
I think a lot of the analysts agree we're not seeing where Rengar works at all right now, but I think we'll see maybe as the tournament progresses. Now, HKE, I think the big question here, and I know what a lot of people probably have in their minds is, I've talked about them maybe exceeding expectations, but how did they actually win here? Because the odds are stacked against them.
This is difficult. For them, honestly, I mean, once again, they're the underdogs, and there can be no doubt about that. I think their mid laners showed promise. I think that they have clearly shown team fighting prowess, but their macro game hasn't always been consistent. I say for them, get comfort picks or get something crazy, but do not try to play a macro game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how Hong Kong esports can win here. They have to really put the pedal to the metal in the early game, but honestly, I feel...
I think the thing that's scary for me is now the agency's kind of taken away from Hong Kong esports. They have to come in, they have to play the best game that they can, but that feeling when you're waiting for the enemy team to make a mistake or to continue to blunder to find a win, it's just not a great place to be.
And let's talk about expectations, because we talked about what we expected from H2K, right? Their third place European team, you know, they kind of expect them to perform well against these teams that they're playing against, but we're not sure how they'll perform as the tournament progresses. What do we expect of HKE? Are they exceeding expectations by even having made it to the SPODEC? Or is it if they win this, that will be when we're sort of saying, okay, maybe we should take them seriously?
I think we touched on this a little bit earlier. I think that right now, beating M19 is good. I mean, but once again, this is not the Albus Nox Luna that made a miracle run at Worlds. It's mostly the same roster, but they weren't performing nearly as well.
Sure.
I'm glad that they've made it this far. I think it's good for the team. I think it's good for those players. It's got to feel good to win on an international stage. But once again, if they win here, this is where they're exceeding expectations. And if they don't find a win here, maybe if they play really well, we can give them some credit. But it's, once again, that beating M19, not the biggest story.
And I think we actually have to reflect and look at the fact that this was the first group stage match for H2K. They played HKE first time round, and it was a longer game than I think H2K would have wanted to play. I mean, you talked at length about how game length doesn't really matter, but it looked like in the early game specifically, HKE kind of matched H2K blow for blow.
Well, in the early game, the issue became the tower dives with the Shen, so proper execution from H2K, but it was in the mid game where the blunders really came about, and the glimmer of hope for Hong Kong esports was the proactivity that they had. Their jungler on Lee Sin was really trying to make something happen. The Gragas a pick that allows you to look for creative ways to pick a fight and really try to take a lead, and that's the kind of style that we want to see from a team that is coming into a tournament as the underdog, somebody that's willing to fight against an opposition no matter how good they may be, because if you can exploit those windows, you can get advantages and surprise.
Absolutely. Any final thoughts on that, Dracos?
I think at the end of the day, I really want to see really solid jungle play. I want to see the Gragas in the top lane because I don't think all the teams know how to do it. I think it's a comfortable pick for Maple Snow. And kind of like Crumbs was saying, I think that as long as they adjust to what H2K played the last time, where they were just diving bottom, as long as they learn to either pull off those turrets or adjust their play otherwise, I think that we'll see hopefully a much cleaner early game coming in for HKE, and that could lead to a very chaotic mid game for both teams.
Well, gents, we'll be diving into this a little bit later on, but for now, let's head backstage with Mitch before the opening ceremony.
Yes, thank you very much, Keenan. I'm actually here with a very special guest. I'm joined here backstage with Exter. What a pleasure to have you here. It's always good to see some of the old greats come back in. Now, do tell us why you're here. What are you doing here at IEM in Katowice this weekend?
Well, so I came pretty much invited because I'm working with Gillette now. So they invited me to come over, and I will be here during the whole weekend watching the games and also at the Razor Maker booth that they have here. Just meeting the fans, having fun at this crazy event that is always super fun to watch, and yeah, just enjoying myself here.
Fantastic, man. We're lucky to have you. I mean, you did mention you're now obviously being represented by Gillette. Now, this is kind of a big deal. We see a lot of brands that get involved in esports in general, but these guys are like a global family brand, and that's, you know, goes sort of outside esports. I mean, how is that for you to be represented by a brand that is just so global in that way?
I mean, it's crazy. It's super great because it's one of these things that you wouldn't think. I never thought about it. It was like a dream come true, you know, get one of these brands to actually want to work with you. And now my image of them is even better now because I get to know them. And when you meet the people there, like bosses. They're super close to me. They're super friendly. They try to help me with everything they can, and that's really cool that they are so close and they're real people as well. So it's really nice to put a face.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you guys walking around together, joking and laughing, which is really, really cool. And seeing them get involved in esports is great. Now, 3 years ago, the back door that stunned esports, you were here, of course, on this very stage. What's your advice to people that maybe see you and want to follow you and want to get into esports? What would you say to people that wanted to make their start in their career?
I mean, that's up to them pretty much. I think the most important thing is that they have to like the game a lot. Whichever game they are playing, they have to love it because they're gonna have to put a lot of hours. That's for sure. And that's pretty much it. It has to be. They don't have to be desperate for it. It has to be like a hobby and a dream, and then slowly work on it, on improving. And if they see they keep improving, maybe consider a bit more and more. But yeah, it's just the most important is that you just love it so much because you're gonna have to play even when you don't like it sometimes, or even when you have to force yourself.
It's not always fun in games, but it definitely is when you pick yourself up a trophy, something like
The
that.
competition is always fun. I gotta say, even when you lose, a bit more salty, but it's still really fun.
Fair enough. I mean, and you're back here at IEM. This is something you've done before, and you played on some of the biggest stages in esports. But, I mean, you've looked around a little bit now. I know you did watch the games. We talked about that earlier. What's your favorite part about IEM, or what have you really enjoyed so far, even at this early stage?
I mean, I arrived yesterday, so I didn't get to see the previous games. I watched them online. And for me, I just like it. It's an event outside of the routine for League of Legends. We have LCS, and that's going, which is still good. But it's good to have a break that you kind of disconnect from the routine, and suddenly you have a big tournament like IEM that you get to see. It's refreshing. It's a novelty, and it's really fun. Makes you like kind of like holidays, even though there's no holidays, like holidays for 1 week in February, which is really nice.
But you were never on the holiday team, though, were you?
I mean, now I am.
Oh, look, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. We're so glad to have you here as well, and hopefully we can catch up a little bit later on. And just like Expeke, the IEM gives birth to champions, but every champion needs a trophy.
It all starts with a dream. A dream that becomes a goal. A goal that changes reality. It's the hunger to succeed. It's the constant training, whether it's winning or losing. It's the growth. It's the believe and drive. This goal will change lives or shatter others. But failure doesn't predict the course. It invokes potential. Losing is not an excuse to quit. It's the opportunity to grow. A vision believes in dreams. A dream reaches for goals. A goal that can become a reality. The World Championship Trophy.
Athletes aren't just born. They're molded from the core. A core of strength. A core of laser focus. A core that can handle anything. A core that sweats the small stuff. A core that's the difference maker, game changer, world shocker. You see, hard work makes the athlete. But the edge of a Core i7 processor makes you unstoppable.
Gillette, the best a man can get.
Start your esports career now at play.eslgaming.com.